Let's talk about something that makes almost every artist uncomfortable: pricing our work. Because pricing forces us to answer questions like: is my work good enough? Am I allowed to charge this much? What if no one buys it? In the last episode, I shared how I started turning my art into products: prints, stickers, you name it. And once you do that, the very next question is unavoidable: how much should I charge for my art? In this video, I want to make pricing feel simple, fair, and most importantly, sustainable. Not hype, not hustle culture, just clear, grounded thinking. I'll walk you through 3 pricing methods artists actually use, how platform fees affect your prices, and I'll show you real examples from my own work, including how the same piece can be priced differently depending on where it's sold. Before we go any further, I want to say this clearly. Pricing isn't a moral judgment of your worth. It's a tool, one that answers practical questions like: what does it take to create this work again? Pricing is hard for artists because we're not just selling an object. We're selling time, skill, taste, emotion, and years of invisible practice. And unlike other jobs, no one hands us a pay scale. Most of us start by asking, what would I pay for this? Or worse, what do I think people will pay for this? That's where underpricing usually begins. Your price, just like you, evolves. It shifts when your skills deepen, your audience grows, demand increases, your cost rises, your life circumstances change. A healthy pricing arc looks like accessible, stable, confident, selective. The best part of pricing is that it's not permanent. You are allowed, encouraged even, to change your price as you grow. Raising prices just means you're progressing, kind of like a raise you've awarded yourself for years of training and hard work. Every pricing you set contains 3 things, whether you realize it or not: replacement cost, continuity cost, and context. Replacement cost asks, if this sold today, could I afford to make another? Continuity cost asks, can I keep making work after this without burning out, without resenting my audience, without quitting? And context asks, where is this being sold and who is it for? This is why pricing is never just a number. Method 1: time-based hourly pricing. The first method is time-based pricing, often called hourly pricing. This is common for commissions, freelance illustrations, and client work. You track how long something takes you, multiply it by an hourly rate, and then add material costs if they're not already included. There are 2 valid ways to do this. Either your hourly rate already accounts for materials and overhead, or you add material costs on top. Example, if a piece takes 10 hours, your rate is $25 an hour, and materials cost $40. That's $250 for labor, plus $40 in materials, $290 in total. When to use time-based pricing: commissions, freelance illustration, and custom client work. Here's a limitation of time-based pricing for personal artwork. The better you get, the faster you work. You shouldn't be punished for skill. As your experience grows, your rate should grow, not your hours. The second method is cost plus margin. This one is essential for products: printing, materials, packaging, platform fees, shipping supplies. If a print cost me $6 in total to produce, and I sell it for $18, my margin is $12. That margin isn't extra. The margin is what pays for your time, your tools, failed experiments, and future work. If you're not leaving room for profit, you're running a charity, not a creative business. I also want to acknowledge here that pricing happens inside real-life constraints. Not everyone has the same safety net, audience size, or starting point. Sustainability looks different for different people, and that's okay. The third method is value-based pricing. This is the hardest and often the most misunderstood. This asks, what does this work mean to the person buying it? For example, original artworks, limited editions, and emotionally personal commissions. At this stage, pricing is influenced by your experience, your audience, scarcity, emotional impact, and trust built over time. We're not talking about ego, we're talking about responsibility to your work and to yourself. Underpricing has real side effects. It attracts the wrong buyers, it discourages the repeat collectors, it destabilizes your career, makes harder future price increases, it signals lack of confidence, even if it's unintended, and trains your audience to expect access at unsustainable levels. Cheap doesn't equal kindness, just like sustainable doesn't equal greedy. Here's to those who still believe in the myth of one true price. There is no single correct price. There is only right for now, right for this context, right for this body of work. Consistency matters within categories, not across your entire practice. Now I want to share the method I use for selling my original paintings. It's called the square inch method, and once it clicks, it makes pricing your work genuinely simple. The formula is straightforward. You multiply the width of your piece by the height, both in inches, to get the total square inch. Then you multiply that number by what's called your career multiplier. For example, a 9 by 12 painting equals 108 square inches. At a multiplier of 150, that's 162. At $2, it's 216. This method works beautifully for flat original works. Paintings, drawings, mixed media pieces on paper, canvas, or panel. It gives you a consistent, defensible baseline across your whole body of work, so that a 5 by 7 and a 24 by 36 always makes logical sense sitting next to each other. Your career multiplier is unique to you. The multiplier isn't a universal number. It's personal, and it's meant to reflect your specific context. Your multiplier is shaped by your medium. Oils or acrylics may command higher multipliers than graphite or watercolor. Highly detailed works often justify more than looser gestured work. Your career stage. An artist just starting out might use 50 cents to $1. An established artist with a collector base might be at $3 to $5 or beyond. Your location and market. What's sustainable in a major city with high cost of living differs from a smaller town. Gallery markets differ from craft fair markets. Your audience and demand. If pieces are selling quickly, that's a signal your multiplier can grow. Your cost of materials. A heavily textured oil on linen simply costs more to produce than a pencil sketch. There's no shame in starting with a lower multiplier. This is just your starting point, not your ceiling. This is the part I love the most about this method. It's a living number. It's allowed to rise as you do. Here are some of the moments that typically justify raising your multiplier. Sales performance. Sold 60 to 70% of your work in a show or series. Consistently selling within weeks of listing, not months. You have a wait list or people asking about upcoming work. Repeat collectors coming back for seconds or third purchases. You're selling out of a price tier. All your smaller works sell, largers don't. Raise the small work floor. Exhibitions and recognitions. Accepted into a juried show. Becoming a competition finalist or winner placement. Featured in a group exhibition at a recognized gallery. Landed a solo show. Work acquired by a public collection, business, or institution. Press and visibility. Featured in a publication, magazine, or arts blog. Meaningful press coverage, local, regional, or national. Significant organic growth in following, with engagement to match. Work shared or featured by a recognized figure in the arts. Career milestones. Complete a residency program. Earning a formal credential. Representation by a gallery, not just consignment, actual representation. Teaching workshops or being invited to speak on your practice. 12 plus months have passed at the same rate with steady sales. Finally, external factors. Material and framing costs have increased noticeably. You've rebranded or elevated your presentation. Professional photography, new website, quality framing. The general cost of living, inflation, has risen significantly since your last adjustment. When you meet 2 to 3 requirements from this list, then you can bump up your price by 25 cents. Then you wait at least 6 to 12 months before bumping it up again. Consider it like record keeping. It reflects where you are now and not just where you started. One thing the square inch method doesn't automatically account for: small pieces. A 2x2 painting has 4 square inches. Even at a generous multiplier of 3, that's $12. But a 2x2 original, regardless of how small it is, still took your time, your materials, your skills. It still has your signature on it. So I recommend setting a minimum price for original works. Whatever that floor is for you, 30, 45, 60, no original goes below it, no matter how small the square inch count. A minimum price protects your time. Setup, finishing, signing, photographing, and listing all takes the same effort regardless of size. Your perceived value. Tiny originals priced at $8 can undermine the rest of your work. The collector. They're paying for an original, not a keychain. Small works can actually be an entry point for new collectors, but it should still feel like a considered purchase, not an afterthought. That brings me to something important. The square inch price of your original artworks should be the same everywhere. I know that might feel counterintuitive. We'll talk in a moment about how platform fees change the pricing for prints and products. But for originals, consistency is non-negotiable. Why? Because collectors talk. Your existing audience will see both listing prices. And because if someone finds the same painting, one cheaper on your website than on your Etsy page, it breaks trust in both directions. What you adjust across platforms for originals is not the price, it's the experience. Your website might offer payment plans or direct contact. An in-person market offers a physical encounter with the work. A gallery adds curatorial context and prestige. The price stays the same, the context changes, and that's enough. Now let's talk about platforms and how that can change the price of your products. Etsy. Etsy has built-in traffic, but it comes with fees. Listing fees, transaction fees, payment processing. That means your price needs to subtly absorb those costs. Coffee. Coffee is more direct. Lower fees, more flexibility. People often come to coffee already wanting to support you, not just buy a product. Gumroad. Gumroad works well for digital products and bundles. It's clear, simple, and great for testing ideas. Let me show you a real example for prints. None of these prices are dishonest. They reflect context. The platform fees, the built-in audience, the experience of buying in person. For prints and products, the price is about adaptability. For originals, it's about consistency. Here are a few quick notes on product types and how they affect pricing. Originals. Priced for meaning, slow-moving, long-term value. Square inch method applies here. Price stays uniform everywhere. Prints. Priced for access, volume-based, entry point for collectors, platform fees absorbed into the price. Limited editions. It bridges between access and value. It rewards early supporters, and it creates narrative across scarcity. Each serves a different role in your ecosystem. Most pricing struggles aren't logical, they're emotional. It can come from common fears, like the fear of rejection, imposter syndrome, guilt around money, and people-pleasing. Money isn't the reason you make art. It's the reason you get to keep making it. Now, because most people like lists, and if you're just starting out, this is for you. Here are some easy mistakes to avoid without judgment. Pricing based on fear, copying underpriced artists, never raising prices, apologizing for your price, Using the square inch method without a minimum price for small works. Setting different prices for originals across platforms. Here's psychological pricing used ethically. These are tools, not tricks. Rounded numbers feel honest. Slightly higher prices increases perceived quality. Scarcity increases care, not just demand. Clear explanations reduce hesitation. Avoid false urgency, shame-based sales language, or confusing tiers. Your tone should match your work. Last list, simple rules that prevent regret. If you remember nothing else, remember these. If it sells instantly, it was likely underpriced. If you feel resentment after a sale, raise your prices. If you're afraid to say the price out loud, examine why. If your pricing hasn't changed in years, it's overdue. If your prices support your life, they're working. If a small piece's square inch total falls below your minimum, charge the minimum. If you're selling originals in multiple places, the price should be identical in all of them. You don't need to explain or justify your prices. They're allowed to simply exist. In the long run, a sustainable art career is not built on viral moments, bargain pricing, constant output. It's built on trust, clarity, repetition, and self-respect. Pricing is how you communicate those things without speaking. Here's what I want you to take away from this episode. If pricing your art feels uncomfortable, that's normal. Confidence comes from clarity. And yet again, you're not late, you're not behind. You're learning a skill most artists were never taught. I'll see you in the next one.